My headphones were.
Randy, we've got a problem.
What? They go.
Reality's here. He's trying to crash the party. Reality? Who let him in?
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry. The world isn't one big liberal arts college campus.
I don't have an agenda. Like, I want people to do something. I need them to do something. I want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Real News. It is 9:01 on the Central Time. It is 10:01 on the Eastern Time. The date today is something fantastic. I'm pretty sure it's November 3rd. Should have known that because it's a very important day today. It's Election Day. That's right. Get out, do your vote, do your due diligence, do justice to why you are a citizen in the United States in your community. My name is Mr. Henry. David Shine Thompson, Zig sitting over there. Listen, this program here, we call it Real News. We do a very specific thing here at Real News. If you just stumbled upon us for the very first time ever, we try and grow as a family. And I know a lot of people are saying, like, there's no way you can have a digital family, Mr. Henry. You can't do it over a screen like this. I get you.
Mr.
We're trying
Henry,
to break that
you
mold.
can have a digital family.
Digital Family 1995 on sale today. You can't do it, they say. We're trying to break that mold. We're trying to bring people together. We're trying to live life with each other. We're trying to stay connected and, I don't know, do this thing over Facebook, over YouTube, over Twitch every single morning here from 9 to 10 Central, 10 to 11 Eastern. We're trying to just grow with each other, hold each other accountable, maybe have calm, cordial dialogue, disagreements and debates. And when we do disagree with each other, the purpose of us disagreeing with each other is to make sure we're disagreeing as friends, neighbors, and loved ones and not disagreeing amongst enemies. That is vitally important for a time like this. That's the motto, the mission statement of this program here. Grow in relationship and capacity with one another. Hey, as we introduce everyone else going around here, you'll see at the bottom of the Facebook here today, the Real News Fake News headline of the day. We'll get to that here in just a second, just making you all aware. Here's the headline, real or fake. Bad news for Trump. Karens are voting Biden. Bad news for Trump. Karens are voting Biden. Go ahead and get your vote in right now while we introduce Zig up in PA way. Zig, buddy, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing pretty good, man. Just going to go ahead and preemptively throw the flag because I know that you are going to say popular vote when you mean majority vote. And I think that should permanently be corrected in everyone's speech. I know it's a nitpick kind of thing, but we really can't insist that the majority is always popular. Not only is that not true in our elections, that's not true in real life. If you were in high school, you probably had a popular group and not everyone was in it. If you're anything like me, you may not have been in it. All right. So yeah, let's just insist on that fact. Majority vote. That's not popular. That's not the popular vote. That's the electoral college.
I like that, man. I like what you said. The majority vote is not the popular vote. Hey,
well,
David
it can't be by definition.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as majority and popular. Not everyone can be popular. Sorry.
That's a good point.
Right? I know you want to be. I want to be.
I know you want to be. Hey, David Shine Thompson, buddy. How you doing out in East Tennessee way, man? Everything looking good on your end?
I mean, it looks so good. Like, I can see for miles and miles, man. And it's a beautiful road in front of us. It's going to be very, very nice. And quick disclaimer. This has nothing to do with our job. This is like what we do in our free time. Go vote for Tim Burchett. Go vote for Elaine Davis. You know, that's my, if you live in the Knox County area, I don't even mind. I don't even care. Go vote for at least those two people. They're really fantastic.
I mean, we've never hit our bias on this program. Tim Burchett and Elaine Davis out in your area for sure.
Hey,
Elaine Davis in
Tim
particular.
just tweeted that people are taking his yard signs from the polling locations, and that if you're going to vote for him, take the yard sign from your house and put it, you know, within the legal distance.
100-foot barrier,
feet,
right?
Where all the other signs are.
Yeah.
But I don't even care. I'm doing it.
It's
the last day, dude. It's the last day to do something like that. So
And
Anyway.
Elaine Davis in particular out there in that district. That is a district that is always tightly contested. I mean, that district can tend, I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. That thing can be flipped between 200 to 400 to 500 votes sometimes. Now, last time around, I think Eddie lost that district by about 2,500 votes, maybe 1,500 votes. Nevertheless, the point is that usually that district is very, very close. A couple hundred votes is usually what it ends up making a difference there. So Sherry just said in Facebook, yes, Elaine Davis. That's right. Johnson has to go. We're unabashed about it.
Well, you know, hey, I'm not necessarily downing Miss Johnson. I'm just saying Elaine is a friend. I like her. I've known her for a long time. She is literally part of the Real News family. She took the mantle after Grant left 92.3. Ran the show there for a little bit, so it's not about running down Miss Johnson for me anyway. I don't speak for everybody else, but I wanted to say go vote for Elaine Davis if you live in her district.
That is a good distinction, man. It really is, because Elaine Davis is a true, what we would call liberty champion, right? Someone that has fairly libertarian leanings, running as a Republican, and those are my words, not hers. By that, I mean someone that's going to do the right thing every single time. When the decision comes down to should we have more government or less government, she's usually going to fall with less government. Someone that would agree with the notion of the worst words in the English language are as follows: there ought to be a law. That's probably your Elaine Davis person right there, right? Some of the worst words you can ever use.
And then to bookend this little thing, once again, this has nothing to do with our job. It's something we do on our own time. There we go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Done.
Just to make that abundantly clear. Hey, Sean, let's do real news, fake news real quick. And we have a double section of real news, fake news. I'm telling you, every day I'm telling y'all, we're up in the game here at Real News. We're getting new segments. We're messing with y'all's minds with the real news, fake news. We're trying to slowly introduce the subtle psychology that's being played behind the scenes of social media. Sean, real news, fake news, click on that photo form up there, if you can, under the if anyone wants to follow along with what we're talking about when we're directing stuff behind the scenes here. By the way, you can click on the on the See More section in Facebook or whatever. There's a little Evernote link. If you click on that Evernote link, you can follow along and see exactly what we're talking about. This is all the show notes on here, right? It kind of de-glamorizes some of the show because I'm not nearly as smart as I seem. Neither Shine nor Zig. We're just running off this stuff, right?
Hey,
Anyways,
no, that's not true. I am as smart as I seem.
all right, very good. Everyone except Zig. That's right. So here's the headline for you right here. You'll see on your screen the photo. Is this a real headline or a fake headline? Bad news for Trump. Karens are voting Biden. And you know what we've started doing here recently? We've actually started messing around with the HTML script behind the scenes and just messing with real headlines to make them look real or make them look fake. Let's see where people are sitting at this right now. Man, this is, it's so close every single morning. 40% say real, 60% say fake. Let's show the results in the Facebook
I'm
here.
just not sure.
That, by the way, is a real headline. That is a Slate headline. Now, I get it. Some of y'all are going to say, come on, that's borderline. That has got to be borderline.
It's science.
Slate is,
It's science. Science says Karens are voting for Biden. It's science.
I'm not joking. That is the story. That is literally the story, that science says Karens are voting for Biden. You don't follow. I'll explain here in just a second. And I get it. Slate is a publication that's just one tick away from Babylon Bee. Okay, I understand that. But nevertheless, Slate at least purports to be legitimate news site. When Shine says that it's science, Karens are voting for Biden, that is the story. They're pulling from a study that was just done that somehow aggregates data on the propensity for you to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump based upon your first name. That is literally the story. And they went and found that 60% of those named Karen are voting for Joe Biden.
I knew it. I knew it.
And apparently 70% of people named Donald are voting for Donald Trump. It's a very real story. I'm not kidding. So it's a real headline. There you go, coming from Slate. All right. Just so I can get through this part, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. I'm telling you, every single day we're raising the bar on what is real news or what is fake news. We're trying to break the mold. Shine, go to the next video here real quick if you can. Now, what you're about to watch here, I'm not going to try and hide the ball on this one. The creators of South Park, Trey Stone and Matt Parker, people that I have received a sizable portion of my political commentary from. My worldview has been crafted and a lot by these two guys. I'm not joking when I say that either. When I come in this program sometimes and I talk about race relations or something I just don't understand, when I say I can sympathize with that plight, but I can never empathize with that plight, I think it's a very good tack to take to start a form of dialogue. I got that from those guys, okay? I got it from an episode of South Park. South Park has some of the most stinging social commentary out there right now. This is their new program. It's entitled Sassy Justice with Fred Sassy. Now, I'm just going to play the clip here, and this, let me just say this. This is not actually Donald Trump and Al Gore that you're about to see. But Shine, just make it full screen for him too, if you can, buddy. Because I want them to get the full-on image of what they're about to see. This stuff is blowing my mind. If you don't know what deep fakes are, you're about to get a full-on introduction to not just fake news, not just real news, but deep fakes and potentially what politics might look like in the next 5 to 10 years. It's fascinating and terrifying at the exact same time. Go ahead and play this for him, Shine.
Justice. As human beings, we all rely on our eyes to determine reality, except for blind people. Not sure how they do it. As Cheyenne's leading consumer advocate for over 30 years, it's my job to keep a constant eye out for hoaxes, fakes, and bullpoop. But what happens when scammers deliberately want to trick our eyes? Suddenly, we're no better than blind people ourselves. We might even be worse. They're called deep fakes, and some people in Washington think they're a threat to our democracy. One of those people is former Vice President Al Gore. I was able to speak with him in this Sassy Justice Zoom-exclusive interview. Mr. Gore, let me start by asking, why are politicians in all of Washington so concerned about deep fakes?
Well, what has people in the government really scared is that deep fakes can put words in people's mouths. You know, make people say things like vagina and poop. And then you've got senators going around saying vagina poop. But they didn't say vagina poop.
But you're saying deep fakes are already out there.
Yes, deep fakes are everywhere. I'm Serial. I brought along a video. I want you to watch this video. What you're about to see is not really Tom Cruise. Someone took the computer and they made him say and do things he wouldn't say. Now watch, and remember, this is not Tom Cruise.
Hi, I'm Tom Cruise. It's me, Tom Cruise. Vagina poop. Vagina poop.
But this is Tom Cruise that I'm watching.
This is what I'm talking about. It fooled you, and I'm being Serial, but you don't even know what's real and what isn't. That's the problem with deepfakes. That's why we all have to take it Serial.
We do.
I have to get the take it Serial in there.
We all have to take it Serial. Oh, man. All right. You get what I'm saying. This is the next level of real news, fake news. Okay. This is going to be the next level in the next couple of years. And look, there's always a bit of sincerity to everyone's sarcasm. You want to know why the title of the program this morning is Where Do You Place Your Trust? It's in part because of this, and it's in part because of some of the stories we're about to bring up. Tonight, I fully do expect for either Trump, but possibly Biden, because Axios has a story on this right now, to announce that they are the next president before they actually are the next president. I fully do expect for media
that
to endorse.
Our article is garbage. It's another one of those we heard from someone close to the situation type articles.
That's
that
what I'm saying.
Article does not quote one person, not one person.
Now, but see, now Axios has one on Biden this morning. Axios is reporting that both camps now are basically going to claim without verification that they are the next president of the United States. Apparently drawing back to the lessons learned in 2000 that you have to do that before the other candidate or else somehow it's going to influence the Supreme Court. I don't know that logic.
It helps if you're actually like winning, though. Like it helps if it looks like you're going to win, which I don't think both candidates are going to be in the position where it's subjective. Like, oh, could they win? Oh, could the other person win? I think it's going to be obvious one way or the other.
Well, I think people should be enthused either way, because if the plan is to repeal the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, if Biden wins, okay, he will lose the House and Senate. Guaranteed. He will be guaranteed to lose the House and Senate, and that's what he was campaigning on. So go ahead, do it. To me, I have more of an optimistic stance where no matter who wins, there's going to be particular problems that we're going to have to work on and problems that we're going to deal with. But even if Trump loses, Biden, his presidency and his administration isn't going to fare well, especially if, again, they plan to repeal the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Zig, let me ask you this, though, man. And again, this is the reason why the title of the program is Where Do You Place Your Trust? And why we just went over these ridiculous deep fake videos and why we've been playing out this real news, fake news for so long. Okay, I think the most likely scenario tonight, and I really hope this doesn't happen, but I do think the most likely scenario tonight, regardless of if it's Trump or Biden that comes out on top, and we'll get into commentary about that here in just a second. I think the most likely scenario, however, is that one side or the other is not going to trust the results, at least for some portion of time. Some period of time, you're going to have a bunch of Democrats that don't trust the Trump win, or a bunch of Republicans that don't trust the Biden won. I mean, am I incorrect about that, Zig? That is my real fear for tonight, because again, I think for several years, we've been coaxing ourselves into this fabricated reality. We don't know what's real or fake. We're basically just, trading sort of appeals to authority. It's all just one massive logical fallacy that we're just trading back with each other. And at the end of the day here, what's most problematic for tonight is that your guy could lose or win, and it's just not going to matter. It's just not going to matter to you. And what that does, not just to the human psyche, but to the underlying fabric of the faith in the institutions of government itself, could be more detrimental than any other outcome tonight for either side. Do you get what I'm saying, Zig? Maybe I'm just being slightly too bombastic here, and I get that.
Perhaps in the short term, but one thing then that we have to acknowledge is that if President Trump is reelected, when it comes to state races, when it comes to U.S. House races, when it comes to Senate races, you're going to see a lot of complacency. But if Joe Biden wins and he promises to repeal the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that would actually be good for Pennsylvania. You know why? Because we would have a major base fired up for 2022 that would make sure that we would not have a Democrat governor. So people, in terms of thinking about things clearly, we have to acknowledge the psychological effects, which is if Biden wins, people are going to be fired up for U.S. House and U.S. Senate races. If he loses, people aren't. And that's going to come with challenges too. To get legislation across with a Democrat majority in the House, that's not going to be that fun. That's not going to be great.
Eric said in Facebook a second ago, already happening. There are many saying Biden won and Trump is win. And a Trump win is cheating already. He's saying it's bizarre. He went on to say that we literally won't even know for sure because millions of votes won't be counted until later on. Already the USPS loses mail every single day. Votes will be lost. Plus ballot boxes are being destroyed, at least according to mainstream media anyways. Jessica says, talking about the deepfake stuff, hasn't deepfakes happened to quite a few celebrities already? It's nuts. Yeah, that's actually how it started, was putting celebrity faces on other bodies. I'll let you fill in the blank for what industry that applies to. That's how the whole technology started, right? Justin said in Facebook a second ago, I'm voting Donald Trump and Tim Burchett. Best of luck to Elaine Davis. Let me jump into some of the final commentary that's being given from the right and left in our version of Op-Ed Royale. This is the pre-election update for what everybody's saying. And it's interesting because, yet again, it plays into the idea of where do you place your trust? With what institution? Do you have any trust left to give? As the kids say right now, do you have a particular letter of the alphabet to give to anyone right now? Here's from Fox News. This is
F's
David Bosey.
F's in the chat.
F's in the chat.
For Joe Biden and his memory.
There's from Fox News. This is David Bosey. He says, President Trump has a clear path to 270 electoral votes, and he's busy earning each and every one of them. He says, I believe the president will carry Texas, Indiana, and all other reliably red states for his first 163 electoral votes. I don't disagree with that. I obviously see that happening. He said in 2016, his road to victory through Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Iowa. In 2020, this path remains intact. I actually tend to agree with that as well. Maybe North Carolina is a little bit in flux, but not nearly as close as I think some people might think right now. Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Iowa. I go on to say, with the addition of Georgia and Arizona. Now, those two could be very interesting, but I just don't see Georgia going full.
They tried to say Georgia was in play in 2016. They said it nonstop, and President Trump won by 8 points.
Yeah.
In 2016. So I think it's just like a wet dream that Georgia and even North Carolina is even in play. I think he wins by 5-6 points in North Carolina.
David Bosey from Fox News goes on to say, with repeat victories in these states, plus the electoral votes in Maine, Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, that brings President Trump's tally to 260 electoral votes, just 10 votes shy of the 270 needed. Now, pregnant pause for effect. Here's where we get to what Zig is talking about. Pennsylvania has 20 electoral college votes. Michigan has 16. Wisconsin has 10. With Biden pitching this idea that like fracking is done, we're not doing it anymore, how are Pennsylvanians going to react to that scenario? With Biden coming out here and saying like, remember those tax cuts that everybody got? We're going to do away with all those. Now, I know people are saying like it's not going to apply if you're making less than $400,000. We'll see how that plays out.
Well, no, Grant, the truth on any Biden plan to hike taxes, then that will eventually be passed on to consumers. That is a definite fact. He says that he's not going to increase it for people making under $400,000. Well, yes, but not directly. Forgive me, it will be an increase, but not directly, because any increase in those people is likely to be passed on to consumers. Now, the issue isn't necessarily that he plans to raise taxes, because that would in fact raise revenue. The issue is that revenue, as soon as he gets it, plans to go out the door. But that's not really what his pitch is. His pitch is he wants to raise revenue to balance the budget and lower the deficit. No, he wants to do the tax and spend. He wants to expand the tax and spend state that we've been living in, to the detriment of even more taxes we'll probably have to pay later.
This person in particular, by the way, to Zig's point here, is talking about, look, with the president sitting at 260 electoral college votes, he just needs one of the three that was previously mentioned, be it either Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin, to pick up and prevail. The president is also on the offensive and actively campaigning in Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, and states that he narrowly lost to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Now, conversely, let me pull up this opinion from CNN on the other side of here of how this whole thing could go down tonight. And then I actually want to hit a comment from John in Facebook just a second ago. That's a local story, I believe, that we'll get to here in just a second. Here's Harry Inton from CNN saying Biden leads in all the states Hillary Clinton won in 2016 by more than 5 points. He is also ahead in a bunch of contests that Trump won in 2016. Even if Biden were to win the states where he led by more than 5 points, he'd still get over the 270 electoral vote mark. More interesting is what happens if you look at the specific state errors that occurred in 2016. Those errors were biggest in the Great Lake Rust Belt states, some of the ones that we just ended up talking about a second ago. They tended to be considerably smaller in the Sun Belt states. As the New York Times' Nate Cohn points out, Biden would get more than 300 electoral votes if the 2016 errors repeated themselves in 2020. Finally, he says, Biden's ahead right now by 9 to 10 points nationally. Clinton apparently was only ahead by 3 to 4 points in the final polls of 2016 and took the popular vote.
Flag, throwing a flag. Majority vote. No, majority vote. That is not
CNN's fault, Zig. I didn't do it.
No, I'm not going to tolerate or stand for that. It's majority vote. The majority is not always popular. The majority is often wrong and violent and cruel.
It's a fantastic point that Zig is playing out here. Okay, the majority vote is mob rule. It is not the popular vote. Okay, it's just because it's majority doesn't mean it's popular for sure. CNN is the one using popular vote, by the way. They're saying. They go on to say the previous calculations indicate Trump probably can't win the electoral college if he loses by more than 4 to 5 points nationally. Now, importantly, let me make this distinction, and I'll kick it shine for some commentary and hit the Facebook comments, see what y'all are talking about. This is our op-ed royale. Okay, we go back and forth between what the left is saying in their op-eds and what the right is saying in their op-eds. Now, CNN is claiming here, obviously, that Biden is ahead by 9 to 10 points. This op-ed royale was published as of Sunday. Now, the Real Clear Politics, if you just pull this up right now, as I'm doing on my screen currently, you'll see that national average is still sitting at 7.2. Now, I just want to know what people are making of this. Again, we have a Fox News headline that is indicating that, like, it wouldn't be absurd to see Trump pass or surpass 300. We have CNN saying it wouldn't be absurd to see Joe Biden surpass 300. So, again, one more time, the theme of today's show, where do you place your trust? And you don't have to place it in a Fox News or a CNN, but I'm just wondering, in the day and age of deep fakes, how do you make sense of any of this? And is polling even worthwhile at all? Sean, let me kick it to you for a minute, man. If you have anything you want to throw on this, any commentary or how you think this might play out tonight. I know you have been predicting some of this for quite some time.
Sorry, I was trying to get my camera to turn on. Well, you know, like, I don't have to trust the media because I'm not one of the politically uninitiated who started reading articles like earlier this year to try to figure out who is going to win the presidency. I've actually been watching a lot of videos from election night 2016. A lot, actually. In fact, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, the CBS ones are the best. They're the absolute best, because there was a moment there for like an hour where real smart people were giving commentary on why Donald Trump won. Before everyone started saying it was Russia and all that stuff, people were actually genuinely, even Democrats, even never Trumpers, were giving genuine analysis on why they thought Trump won. All the things they thought were negatives for Trump in the actual campaigning sense, Grant, are things he has in spades in 2020. He had no ground game. Literally, nobody knocking doors, nobody making phone calls. All Trump did in 2016, they were pretty open about that, right? Yeah, and barely any money for advertising on the internet or otherwise. I think it was less than half of what Hillary had. All he did was those rallies. Like, that's it. And then get all the free press from CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. He's been knocking on 1 million doors a week since the spring. I have it on good authority that there's hundreds of thousands of phone calls and text messages being made a day. I feel like there are, I mean, just in the culture, I remember all these people who were sympathetic to Trump, but voted either third party or didn't vote.
Yeah, or didn't
vote for Hillary Clinton. A lot of those people in the culture are voting for Donald Trump. I think he's in a stronger position than he was, and I'm trying to be unbiased here about it, like, based on what people know about him, what he's done specifically for, like, some of these states where it matters the most, places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and even places like Minnesota. It's not theoretical. Like, he delivered on things. But then also his campaign's in a stronger position. I think he's personally in the culture in a stronger position. And I think you're just going to see what he did in 2016 plus like 10%. 10 to 15%. And it may even be more than, I'm trying to be conservative. But what I'm saying is I haven't seen anything go into the negative column. Everything about what was making him popular in 2016 still exists, except it's more. And then as far as actual campaign logistics, which we know, the three of us know how much those campaign logistics can swing a race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How much that can really, really help, and how much all that engagement, all those personal conversations at the doors, on the phones. I don't know if any of y'all have ever downloaded the app, the campaign app. I did it a few weeks ago just to, like, see, you know what I'm saying? See what their campaign was doing. It's crazy. They've made, like, working on campaigns like playing a video game. It's insane. There's like a ranking system. You get points for doing certain stuff. Really? Yeah. Huh. And then there's prizes based on how many points you get. Like if you like make a bunch of phone calls, you get like a signed cap from the president or or a teddy bear, or you win tickets to the next rally, or if you're really kicking butt the whole time, like one of the president's family members or something will call you personally and thank you. That's all stuff. And I know that sounds all hokey and whatever.
Dude, but it motivates. But it motivates like crazy.
It motivates like that kind of stuff motivates like crazy. I mean, people get motivated without any incentives. I mean, but what I'm saying is he had none of that in 2016. Literally zero. And he ran the table. And I just don't see, I mean, I've been through a lot of presidential elections now. I'm not super old, but I'm 35. I've watched them all since I was 17 years old or earlier. And I just don't see that the atmosphere has changed. You get what I'm saying? I feel like we're in the same period of time.
I will say, Sean, I think the one thing that may have changed here, and this is not like breaking news, political commentary, it's surface level analysis at best, I will admit that, but I think the trade-off that people are going to be watching tonight, maybe trade-off isn't the right word, but the exchange that people are going to be watching tonight is the percentage of Caucasian female college-educated individuals that Trump will lose out in suburbia, will he be able to make up for in spades through the Hispanic male vote and African American vote? Does that make sense?
You know, well, we haven't even talked about demographics. Demographically, he's looking better than he did in 2016. What did he get? Like 7.5 or 7.8% of the black vote?
I think it was 8 something. Yeah, something like that.
Or
right?
8.4 something of the nationwide black vote. I think he got in the high 20s, I think, of the Hispanic vote, if I remember correctly, like around 26%. Both of those were showing a demographic shift. I don't think it was a flash in the pan. I think it was a demographic shift, if that makes sense. And I think those things are things that are just so difficult to predict, because those kinds of demographic shifts, like if Trump goes from 8% to, some people are saying, as high as like 25% of the African American vote. Or going from 25% of the Hispanic vote to 40% of the Hispanic vote. Those kind of jumps could remake the electoral map in ways that we do not understand. But even if he just got, let's say he got 4 more points. And you can try this out. I think there's a website, I don't remember what it is, where you can like turn demographics up and see how it affects the election.
Yeah.
Go play with that. I don't remember the website. I'll see if I can find it for the end of the show.
I think it's 538. It's linked in the show notes.
Okay, 538. There you go. So like just 4 points of the African American vote, another 10% of the Hispanic vote. In most of these places that are considered swing states, the Democratic vote comes out of these like 5 or 6 counties, right, in an urban center, where they need that to be almost 90% Democrat, right? Places like Ohio. I mean, talking about all those places you talked about earlier in the show, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, North Carolina, places like that. The only way Democrats win is if they go into somewhere like Philadelphia and get like 95% of the vote to offset what's going on in the rest of the state. And those percentages in Hispanic and African American vote, I can't help but wonder if they shift those counties.
Well, but if it is a shift, David, there's no guarantee that it's a long-term permanent shift. For example, Justice Clarence Thomas said to Ronald Reagan, I think that you should have a civil rights platform as part of your re-election strategy. Before Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was on the Supreme Court, he told Ronald Reagan that, and Ronald Reagan didn't heed his advice. The real thing in terms of going after non-traditional demographics, what should be focused on is create the Republican Party, if they choose to do so, whatever party, Libertarian Party, Green Party, whatever party, what they need is a competing vision for minorities living in urban centers. And that's not just my complaint. The reason why you've seen a demographic shift of minorities from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party is that when the New Deal came out, Republicans didn't have a strategy, a counterattack strategy. And that's why you've seen so many people so many minorities switch Democrat, because prior to that, you had a lot more African Americans voting Republican, a substantially higher number. I don't have
they
the
were
exact
almost
figure.
all Republican. In fact, almost before the New Deal, almost every African American who was elected to Congress or state houses was African American. I said it inverted. Almost, every African American was a Republican before the New Deal.
Well,
I mean, in Knoxville, we had several African American politicians prior, like in the 1899 to like 1920 or so, was the prime African American Republican time, even in Knoxville back then.
Well, that's a salient thing to keep in mind here is that if Republicans don't release a broader base strategy and plan that can have the effect of something like a New Deal, then these gains will only be short term, and they won't be long-term gains.
The Platinum Plan is probably the most ambitious, the most ambitious plan targeting African or any demographic group ever.
Yep, $500 billion.
$500 billion
right.
is I mean, to be fair, it's like almost an outrageous amount of money.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's almost as much as the TARP bailouts. And I would say even in proportion to GDP, it's probably something that is a percentage of the New Deal in cost. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I think it's I don't know necessarily know if it's a good idea, but I will say it's an ambitious, bold plan, and it's the difference between that and what Democrats are offering in legitimate policy is literally like $480 billion in difference, because they're talking about like $4.5 billion for early education and things like that. Those are things that are already in the Platinum Plan for Republicans. I mean, Ivanka Trump has been talking about paid what's it called when you paid leave for mothers and things like that, early childhood education. That's been a part of Ivanka's big push. I mean, she said it I think it even got mentioned in the 2016 State of the Union.
Well, I didn't read the entire plan, but two things that it was missing that I think are important and perhaps even crucial is one, including measures for school choice. It's largely minorities in America and a number of Democrats in America that really want school choice. Minorities have wanted school choice for decades.
And Trump has mentioned it he's mentioned that in every rally that he's done in the past month. I mean, that's a big part. I mean, and I'm not here stumping for Trump. What I'm saying is every time you say they need to do this, I'm just letting you know they've done it. They're talking about school choice.
I just don't think that I've seen that mentioned exclusively in the Platinum Plan. Perhaps I didn't read that document closely enough, but I don't think
I
that
don't know if it's
that.
a part of the same plan for sure. It may be a different, like a legislative initiative.
The other thing then that would really benefit minorities in the nation as a whole is doing away with some of these restrictive zoning policies in urban centers, because it makes it very difficult for low-income people to transition from government housing and government benefits when they're making about $30,000 a year to getting an apartment that's comparable to what they were getting for free, because you have all these central planners. So you can't have this in the house, you can't have that. This property can only be used for this. And that artificially drives up cost at the expense of many people trapped in these urban centers.
Well, and as we pull back 30,000 feet back to the original conversation, though, about these demographic shifts, it's not like he has to shift the majority, right? And when I say he, I mean Trump. All he needs to do is chip away at these urban centers where they're the only places that vote Democrat in the whole state, where they depend on 90% of the vote being Democrat. All he's got to do is take 5 to 8% out of that, like in Dade County in Florida. I mean, I think what you're seeing in Florida is people being honest about what's happening. When that Democratic Congresswoman came out and said Republicans are beating us in early voting, which we're supposed to be winning 3-1 in Miami-Dade County, we aren't getting any money for the turnout. They have turnout the vote vendors, I guess, in Miami. They were so, it was so funny. This is just an aside. Listening to the CNN people or political people just gloss over, we need millions of dollars for the people who are good at turning out votes. What does that mean? You know what I mean? The people who are good at that, like, it's just so funny, them like dancing around the different descriptions of that. But I think what's happening in Miami-Dade County is probably happening in Ohio. I think it's probably happening in Philadelphia. I think it's happening in Madison, Wisconsin. I think it's happening in Raleigh, North Carolina. I think it's happening in a lot of those places that use those just 2 or 3 counties to make the vote competitive for Democrats. And I think in a lot of places, I'm going to go ahead and predict right now that he gets 25% of the Trump gets 25% of the greater Philadelphia metro area. And if he gets 25%, it's over. It's over. They need 90% Democrat at the Philadelphia metro.
Well, can I ask you, though?
Sorry, I just wanted to make the last point. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, David, but I'm trying to look past not just, this election, which to some people is obviously very important, but into the future. And if we look at the future and we want things like socialism and communism in America to not exist, you have to convince people in urban neighborhoods that there's a better way of living through than socialism. You have to convince them, and you have to make that part of your plan through zoning reform and school choice. That's what I'm trying to get at. And if those things are never pitched and well articulated, then you're still going to have people living socialist lifestyles in the inner city, and we're going to be back to where we are 4 years from now, where it's another tight race that makes everyone upset and everyone.
I think if Trump can pass prison reform with the Congress he had, the Senate he had, then we have a really good opportunity. I mean, even the three of us, just three of us, pretend like nobody's watching right now. I know it's a big initiative in our company to get school choice to be a thing, to be part, not just culturally but legally and all those things. I think we have an opportunity to make a huge dent in the Overton window shift in the school choice in the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
If Donald Trump wins, because he's going to keep talking about it, and if he talks about it, that'll create the space for other people to talk about it. Just like CJR. And it's not going to be all him. He can't carry that on his shoulders. It's going to have to be people from coming across the aisle. I mean, it took Van Jones whipping votes for Democrats to get that CJR legislation passed with the First Step Act. It's going to take that. You know, but the bully pulpit is already being used on school choice. I think we have a good opportunity if Trump wins.
Well, truth be told, even if he loses in the state of Pennsylvania, if Trump loses, it'll make it more likely, I believe, in 2022 that we will have a Republican government.
Yeah, for sure. There is a huge fear that Republicans will be drunk with power and super complacent. I'm already nervous about it. I'm nervous about it 100%, not being able to get people who lean Republican as volunteers because they feel like everything is fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and under that scenario, school choice would be an option. Then it would be a beautiful day to live in Pennsylvania.
Let me ask you, though, honestly. Okay, so the three of us do this for a living. And I'm sure, Zig, you've been intimately involved with politics even before you came to AFP as well. And this program that we do right now, there's part of the reason why we call this a digital family is because I'm not joking when I say it's the greatest audience in the nation. Y'all are more informed on some of these topics than either three of us are, okay? You know more about these topics. You are at least as informed about most of these topics as we three certainly are. But I have to say, man, I feel like conversations like this, audiences like this, are essentially the anomaly. Okay, I think that the vast majority.
Are you saying we're not normal?
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Ostracized.
But I'm like, policy-driven conversations are fantastic things to have. I just don't know how much is going to drive the conversation tonight. And frankly speaking, I don't know if people are really going to even be able to wrap their heads around this for at least another 10 to 15 to 20 years. And I do mean wrap their heads around like substantive policy issues. Look at this headline from Axios, okay? Biden's plan to assert control if he's declared president-elect. Again, who do you place your trust in? And maybe the better question is, where do you place your trust? Because ultimately what I'm trying to do today and what these guys, the reason why they're able to have these kinds of conversations is because both of these two guys place their trust in something far more objective than a single individual. People are fallible. Human beings are fallible. I can guarantee you any person you have ever followed in your life, save Jesus Christ himself, is going to fail you. It will happen. They will let you down. They will get something wrong. We all have, everybody will on into the future. Some type of objective source of philosophy of, I don't know, any type of worldview that's going to remain steadfast and true and noble throughout all this stuff is what I'm trying to get to, because if not, we're going to have situations like this tonight where Axios is reporting, quote, if news organizations declare Joe Biden the mathematical president-elect, as of tonight, I don't know how they're going to do that, he, meaning Joe Biden, plans to address the nation as its new leader, even if President Trump continues to fight in court, advisors tell Axios. Now, you all remember this exact same headline.
So he's allowed to do it, but Trump's not allowed to do it? That's so messed up.
That's the story. That's the story, Shine. The story is that this exact same headline came around with Trump just last week, and people lost their mind. They just, like, the internet set on fire. Literally, we're going to start burning buildings down if this thing happens. If Trump announced on the night of the election and just refuses to acknowledge, like, votes being counted afterward by mail or something, now it's the Axios reports that Biden's going to do it. It's like, what game is this? What are we playing? This is the sense of frustration that I have, because these conversations, this beautiful exchange that we just had that people were commenting on Facebook about, is not happening elsewhere across the nation. At least not to the extent that I would like it to happen.
That's not going to continue on forever. As time goes on, people are going to seek newer, more personalized forms of communication. The mass media isn't going to be popular for forever, because people after 100 years of having big media, radio, broadcast, TV. People are becoming fed up with that. Those things, the primary driver of partisanship, because they treat people like they're all the same. And they treat Republicans in Pennsylvania like they're the same as Republicans in Tennessee, and they're not. And people will get fed up with it. They will move on. They will start their own podcasts. People will start their own shows. You will have more entrepreneurs in the stranglehold over the nation, and communication is going to shift away from big media.
Yeah, man. And that's part of what the lesson I'm trying to impart right now. It's exactly what Zig just said, regardless of what happens tonight. The theme of today's show, too, is also a lesson of hope and encouragement, right? And regardless of what happens tonight, if your guy wins or loses, at the end of the day, it's temporary. It's here now. It's at most for the next 4 years and possibly just 2 years, because we have another election coming up after that. What Zig is really talking about is like what ultimately matters are these relationships. What ultimately matters is Jessica getting out there and talking to people about upcoming elections and influencing her council. It's Air getting out there and busting out calls for us last weekend to influence a race that's happening here in Tennessee for John DeBerry, who just got kicked out of the Democrat Party. It's Kelly, who listens to this program every single morning and shows up to every single one of these community, these city council meetings with signs, her whole family, mega horns, everything, man. Like, this type of interactive change will surpass the cult of personality politics in every single scenario, all the time. And I'm just hoping tonight, the last thing that we can buy into tonight, that we should buy into tonight, is this idea that we don't have faith in what the end result is going to be. Axios says, why does it matter that Joe Biden would say that he's going to win, even that the thing isn't done? They're saying the Biden advisors learned the lesson of 2000 when Al Gore hung back while George W. Bush declared victory in the contested election, putting the Democrat on the defensive while Bush acted like the winner. And I don't know, kind of, maybe, but that was all said and done in the Supreme Court anyways. I don't think it influenced their opinion.
He won a Supreme Court battle that said, hey, is it really fair that we're still counting votes a month later? And the Supreme Court said, you know what? No, it's not. And it had nothing to do with like little trite tricks. I mean, you know what I'm getting annoyed about, Grant, is the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party's guilty of this too. It's just been really bad over the past month with the Democrats. It's all about tricks. It's all about little sleight of hand things. And I'm telling you right now, and this is especially true for Democrats in the state of Tennessee, tricks don't trump wins. You gotta win. You can't trick your way into an elected office. You got to work. You got to work hard. You have to get other people to work hard. And no amount of tricks makes up for that. And I'm just kind of sick and tired of these little games. These games like, we learned from bull crap. You didn't learn anything from 2000. You didn't learn a damn thing. You didn't learn anything. You didn't learn that people believe you less when you do a bad job. Because you know what people did after Miami-Dade in 2000? They all of Florida, but Miami-Dade and Broward, tightened up their elections. And at the state level, they changed things to make sure things would tighten up. And then we still had in 2018, when we were waiting to see who won the Senate race in Florida and who won the governor's race, the whole country was watching those two counties run by the same party, probably even the same people as in 2000. We're all watching helicopter shots of votes being delivered at 2 o'clock in the morning by semi. Not even by a van, by semi. And people are saying, where are they coming from? Who are those votes for? Why are they getting here at 2 o'clock in the morning? The last polling place closed 4 hours ago. Yeah. They haven't learned a damn thing since 2000. They even keep trying to do the dirty tricks the same way. And people respond to that. They may not respond immediately. But I think this is going to be one of those elections where you just see people say, I'm tired of the tricks. I like people who work hard. I don't want the perfect canned marketing phrase from you. What I want is results. And maybe I'm being a little hammy right now, but I'm really annoyed by you think you can win elections by a trick, by saying you won? That's so weird. And then you telling me about it just throws your hubris right in my face and makes me even more upset. Like when someone cusses you out from 10 feet away and thinks you won't hit them.
And to add on what Sean is saying again, so think about this. Axios says, so if Biden is declared the winner, he'll be forming his government and looking presidential and won't yield to doubts Trump might try and sow. Biden's schedule for Tuesday includes a clue to this type of posture. He, quote, will address the nation on election night in Wilmington, Delaware. He's going to start appointing advisors. He's going to start forming his cabinet. And a little bit of what Sean is saying, which I totally agree with, is, hang on, man, is this how presidential elections are done? Anybody that watches The Office out there, does everybody remember that episode of The Office where Andy was the regional manager and he just left town to go on some boat for 3 months? And this random girl came in and just assumed his office? Nobody hired her. She just acted as if she was the regional manager. Nobody ended up calling her on it, so she became the regional manager. Bro, the presidential election is not a version of an Office episode. It is not someone just assuming power. The Supreme Court is not going to look at this later on and say, well, you know what? Joe has actually started making concerted efforts to act presidential, so I think we're going to make him the president. What I'm saying is, if it's not actually intended to get to the real end result, the logical end result, the factual end result, it is purely meant to create and construct a narrative that is meant to sow distrust in what facts might actually be. Now, it might coincidentally match up with the factual scenario on the back end. In retrospect, may look like it's fantastic hindsight 2020. But in actuality, doing this preemptively is doing nothing more than just saying, you know what, man, regardless of the scenario, I'm going to tell you I'm the president. I just don't like that. To me is one of the worst things that could be done tonight on either side. Because again, we are sowing such amount of distrust in the institutions themselves. If half of the country doesn't believe who the president is anymore, we thought 2016 was bad. I don't know what 2020 is going to look like. I don't. And I don't know what the fracture point is going to have to be to break us from this mold. Zig, I don't know, man. I'll kick it to you if you want to have some commentary on that. If not, we got 8 minutes left. I'll end with some predictions of some of my Facebook friends as to how they think this is going to go tonight. But I don't know, bro. What do you think, man?
If people are so sour and bitter about these presidential races, one thing that they could do and could advocate for is greater restrictions on the power of the president to make any kind of change. If you're really upset, you can tell your congressperson to repeal certain bills that gave the president, for example, certain war-making power. You could do that. You could
ask your representative to take some of his own power back, right?
Yeah,
Don't let executive orders be a replacement for legislation.
Yeah, you could ask for restrictions on the number of executive orders. You could also advocate for less rules being made, rules which are by definition not constitutional if you believe in the non-delegation clause. You could do these things if you're really that mad, and it would be constructive. You wouldn't have to sit around and fume, probably your wife or husband or dog or kids. You could quit doing that today by just insisting that, hey, Congress, you have a job. Congress, you should be more in touch with people so that way people never get so mad. Senators, you should have a closer relationship with people in your state, so people don't have to get mad, so people can trust your judgment to correct the errors of the president. If people had more faith in Congress, then we wouldn't have so many problems with the president to start with. That's a major part of the issue. Congress shouldn't be playing into the partisan cheerleading because they won't be needed to correct the errors of whatever administration is taking place.
Eric said in Facebook a second ago, Broward County is weird. It's a weird science experiment. Just look at some of the policies. Weird place. Jonathan said in Facebook, Biden is not going to win. And he said, did y'all catch the slap to the Tennessee Democratic Party by the Tennessee judicial system in the news? I don't know what exactly what you're talking about, Jonathan.
Was it Hoyos who asked for, here, I'll Google it right now.
You're talking about the U.S. Senate candidate, Bradshaw?
Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Bradshaw asked for the absentee numbers of people, well, names too, and addresses, I suppose, all the contact information of people whose absentee ballots hadn't come in yet. And I don't remember, and I honestly do not know enough about Tennessee code annotated or election law in Tennessee to know if that was a valid request. But the judicial system in Tennessee said that they didn't file it correctly.
Oh, interesting. Is that how it came down?
So, and I don't know if that means like it wasn't proper for them to ask in the first place, or it was proper but they didn't ask correctly. I really don't know what that means. So if Jonathan, you want to put that in the chat, go ahead. But that's Haggerty's Bill Haggerty's opponent in the Tennessee
U.S. Senate race.
Senate race. Yep.
And I think another thing she was asking for is out of the number of registered voters in that area who had not voted yet. I think I get the impression that the idea was like in the last day, how do I target the remaining money that I have in my pack?
By not using government statistics, like by using your own.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? Like maybe you just don't have a ground game. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think I had that show prep for, or that story prep for today, but I actually did not know how it turned out. I just had the initial part of that from about a day or two ago.
She got shut down. They said no.
All right, let me end with this here too, real quick. So there's two friends that I follow on Facebook that are as involved in politics as we are. One thinks that Trump's going to win by 328. Another one thinks that Trump's going to win by 280. I think if there is to be a Trump win, it might be closer to that 280. But interesting points here that the guy from saying that Trump's going to win with 328 brought up. Just to end this whole thing, he says, my prediction for tomorrow, Trump will win the Electoral College by more than he did in 2016. He will lose the majority vote by more than he did in 2016.
Hey.
To be fair, though, Zig, he did say popular vote. I'm just helping out the theme.
Well,
for
that's a real news, real improvement right there. Okay.
Real news, real improvement.
Real improvement.
This guy,
real news.
This guy goes on to say, Trump will improve his margins among Black and Hispanic voters while losing ground among white suburban voters. There's that trade-off or that exchange we were talking about before. He says states with large rural working class populations will continue to move toward Trump, like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. Michigan is a very interesting state, man. 538 has Michigan, Trump's chance of winning Michigan by less than 5%. But all of these other political heads that I follow are like, no, Michigan is absolutely in play. Will be very interesting to see tonight.
Oh, my goodness. It's so not even in play. Trump's going to dominate in Michigan.
Yeah.
I really think he's taking. Here, I got to get my camera up here. Hold on. Like, no joke, dude. Here, I cut you off explaining those things, but I really feel like he's going to take Michigan, man. I'm with the guy that says he wins like 360.
Okay.
Because I think in all those places where he won by under 100,000, he's going to win by 150,000, 200,000, which is several states. It was like 7 states that he won. Like, I think even in Michigan, it was like 47,000 or 70,000 or something like that. Some kind of small amount. But they said this is the COVID election. They're right. It's also the riot election. It's the I don't want to be in my house anymore election. It's the I want to go to work election. It's the I want to go to church election. And in Michigan, they're mad about not being able to go to work. They're mad about not being able to go to church. I've watched almost all the rallies in Michigan. Whenever they talk about Governor Whitmore, it is deafening. The boos.
Yeah, that's true.
It's deafening. Anyway, sorry. Well, I'll let you get back to your analysis there.
Well, look, to Sean's point, or not to Sean's point, but just again, call 538 what you will. I don't know if anybody trusts Nate Silver or not. That's one of the themes of today's. Where
they
you
won't
put your
after
trust.
Today.
538. I'm looking at the thing right now saying that Trump's chance of winning Michigan is 5%. His chance of winning Wisconsin is 6%. Trump's chance of winning Illinois is less than 1%. I don't think anybody thinks that's in play. But Minnesota, they think Trump's chance of winning Minnesota is 4%. Arizona, they think his chance of winning Arizona is 32%, and they only give him a 62% chance of winning Texas, and they think he's going to lose Georgia. They say Biden has a 58% chance of winning Georgia, and Biden has a 69% chance of winning Florida. I just don't know, man.
If Trump was going to lose Georgia, then David Perdue would have debated John Ossoff.
See, that's another interesting angle to this story, man.
I mean, look, man, you just got to look at what the candidates do because they have real polls. Because their decisions actually matter to them. It may not matter very much to you because you're like, okay, I get a vote and maybe I complain about people for a couple years. That's their job. That's their life. Or someone like, David Perdue, it's like his family's life, It's their family name. If he felt like he was going to lose, he would have debated John Ossoff. But he chose to say, I don't need that debate. People who choose not to debate know they're going to win. Period.
Because the idea is that if you debate, it can only hurt you.
It can only hurt you.
So why do it? Because I'm already winning anyways,
exactly.
Right?
I guess I should have explained why, I guess. But you can take my word for it. When a candidate says, I'm not going to debate you, it's because they know they're going to win. And you can test that out. You can test that theory out for the next 10 years and see if I'm right. But in every single time, and I've seen it hundreds of times, where a candidate says, I don't need to debate you, it's because they know they have like a 20, 30-point swing. In David Perdue's case, I think it's probably like a 5 or 6 point swing. But as I said at the beginning of the show, They told us over and over again in 2016 that Georgia was purple.
Dude,
and Trump won by 8 points.
And a few years ago, the day of the election, they said, Senator Blackburn at the time was just Congressman Blackburn. And yes, it is Congressman that she preferred, not Congresswoman, but Congressman Blackburn. The day of that election, she said that Real Clear had her down by 8 points on the day of the election. I think she ended up winning by 13 or 14. Right, to Shine's point,
They're
here,
just
Georgia,
full of crap. Their hopes and dreams are fueling their fart-filled balloons, man.
Real Clear right now has Ossoff up in Georgia by 0.7, which, to be fair, as of this time last week, he was up by about 3 or 4. In North Carolina, they have Cunningham up by 2.6 as of right now.
No way. I don't know. I think that Tillis wins by 5 or 6 points again.
Dude, and they have Graham versus Harrison in South Carolina as a toss-up.
Now, that's probably a 2-point
50-50
race.
split.
That's probably a 2-point race from everything I've read. But also, it's like, look what happened in Florida with Gillum, where you had all that out. This is the Gillum model. This is who was that lady who ran for governor in Georgia against Kemp, who started her own pack?
Stacey Abrams.
So this is the Stacey Abrams game plan. This is the Gillum game plan. This is let's put $12 million of Hollywood money in a state that's on the other side of the country and see if that swings a race.
Man, can I be honest about Ossoff for a second, too? The thing that terrifies me about Jon Ossoff, it's not necessarily that he's a Democrat, not even about how progressive he is. I mean, goodness gracious, what's-his-name, Toothy McGee down in Texas almost won that race, and he could have been terrible for his progressive stance. He wanted to take all guns away, right?
Still lost by 2 million votes, though, Grant. Even though the percentage points were close, the numbers were not. I mean, Beto is who you're talking about.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke. That's
Beto
right.
O'Rourke. He lost by like 2 million votes.
Whose name is not Beto, by the way, just so we're all clear about that. Nevertheless.
Beto, whatever. Beto.
No, but I mean, like, his real name is like Anthony or something, isn't it? Like he Hispanicized his name.
I don't know. Don't care. I hope he falls off a skateboard.
Anyways, the thing that terrifies me about Jon Ossoff is that I don't think a lot of people realize that this guy just lost. I mean, the last time around, lost the most expensive House race in the history of Georgia.
That's right.
In the history of the state, he lost the most expensive House race. So what I'm saying is this guy is getting an amount of money that has never been seen in Georgia before. Now, what that says to me as someone that's been indoctrinated to politics is like, bro, he is going to owe some people when he gets up there. He is going to owe a lot of people so much when he gets up there. It's not just about playing party line with voting a particular way. It's about, man, this guy, the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of out-of-state money that he has taken in, that is all allegiance money. That is, I'm not going to say blood money, but it's all allegiance money that you owe something to someone later on because they help you get to where you are right now. A Jon Ossoff victory in Georgia would be terrifying, not just because of Jon Ossoff, but because of who and how much Jon Ossoff owes. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, but he's going to lose. So, I mean, I'm not worried about it. Hey, and I do want to make an announcement. I really hope you're savoring Real News live streaming right now, because I'm not going to be afraid to call the election on Real News, and I might do some streaming tonight between like 9 and midnight. Not of me or Grant just like talking for 3 hours. That would be totally lame, because like, what are we going to talk about? I don't like doing election coverage. I think it's really boring, to be perfectly honest. It's the only exciting part. It's like you do all the boring stuff and then you announce winners, and that's the only time it's exciting. And it's immediately irrelevant after that. So I'm not really planning on doing a coverage show, but I might be streaming other people covering it and bouncing between different streams, throwing up kind of like vote counters on the screen, maybe playing some cool music, things like that. But I'm not going to be afraid to say who I think won, not just on the presidential level, but all the way down to the local level. And if you want to hang out in the Real News stream and give me updates from like your part of the state, like if you want to say, hey, this is who won city council in my county, or who won school board, we can make all those announcements and hang out together. Because I'm just going to do it till I get shut down. I'm going to play CNN. I'm going to play Fox News. I'm going to play probably some InfoWars coverage. I'm going to play Tim Pool's coverage. I'm going to throw up websites. I'm going to throw up county election websites in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, things like that, Georgia, and we'll just have a good time. And I don't care. if we get banned. We're starting season 2, by the way, after Election Day.
That is true, yeah.
After Election Day, it's no longer season 1. We've been in season 1 of Real News, and I think that kind of went from the beginning of the shutdown to the election, and then we're going to start all over. It's going to be Real News season 2, episode 1. Because it'll be a little bit different after today. So I'm just going to go all in today. It's the end of the season. You got to have a big plot twist at the end of the season. If we get shut down or blocked for a month, because of what we do tonight, that will be a good bookend. That will be a good bookend. So if you want to hang out, hit us up. I'm not going to start at like 8 o'clock or something. No way, because we're not going to get any results. The first results will be around 9:30, and that may be like Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. All those are going to come in probably before 10 o'clock. So I'm going to start somewhere a little after 9. I don't really want to be out, Grant. That's another poll. Are you scared of going out tonight on election night? I would normally go to an election night party. I've probably even already committed to 1 or 2, but I'm just not feeling it. I don't want to be driving around tonight. I feel like if people don't see things going their way, they may be a little crazy on the roads. I don't really want to be out. I don't know. So I'm going to do it from home. If you're doing it from home too, hang out with us. Might be a good time. And I'll put some info up on the Real News page to let you know when I'm thinking about starting. I may even do one of those scheduled stream posts where it does a little countdown for a couple hours so everybody can know when we might be doing it. So anyway, just wanted to let everybody know that.
Zig, let me give you one of the last words here as we're starting to exit the show, man. Anything you want to say in the way out? Any last minute predictions? Any of that kind of stuff?
No, I don't think there is anything to predict, Grant. I think it's too complicated for ordinary people to be able to figure out. That's why I don't try to make any predictions, because I talk to a lot of disaffected voters of predominantly the Republican Party in the suburbs. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but we should all look forward to season 2. We're going to do bigger things. We're going to be available on more platforms more often.
That's true.
Yeah, if you happen to miss us in the morning on Real News, you'll be able to catch us. Hopefully you'll be able to catch us on these streaming platforms going forward. And also you can share that with your family and friends. Let them know what you're doing, what we're doing. Definitely looking forward to that.
Hey, as we end the show here too, I just want to stress one more time of like, look, where do you place your trust? Okay. What are you placing your trust in? I hope it's not another human being. I hope it's something greater than that. I hope it's better than a version of a collective consciousness. I hope it's something objective and stagnant that will remain true to you for all time. Right? Because in times where the waves get rocky or something like that, where we're flowing back and forth and where we're crashing up against the shore rocks there, you're going to need something strong to hold on to, something that will not waver. The lighthouse of your life. What is that worldview lighthouse that you have that's constantly a beacon back home, a beacon to you, come back home? I think tonight we need to understand and keep that lesson in our mind. Again, as people are going to say that one candidate won or didn't win, is over the next 20, 30, maybe even 40 days, we're going to see some other vote tallies come back in. It's going to get very, very strange over the next month or something. But hey, man, it's 2020. It's not like we can't take it.
But we'll be here. We'll be here with you.
We'll be here, man. We are a resilient species. And as a movie I watched one time, we're never more apt to evolve as a species than we are when we're on the brink of extinction. And I think we may be on the brink of an ideological extinction going on right now, of people being stretched and pushed into versions and realms of their own psyche that they have just not tapped and touched before. And that's kind of what I want to leave with right now. At the end of season 1, I know 2020 has arguably possibly been one of the worst years for a lot of people for several different reasons. I ask you now to pour into your relationships, pour into this community, pour into your friends and family. Reach out, man. Open up. Be a little bit vulnerable. It's all right to drop your guard. I guarantee you, I promise you, as you drop that guard, someone else is going to drop their guard. Vulnerability will breed vulnerability, and we will grow and strengthen in this trials and struggles we've been going through in 2020, regardless of what happens tonight, right? Pouring into stuff like this, community like this, genuine human relationship like this is what is going to progress. And we become stronger, better people, a better species, a better society because of concerted efforts to engage in things like this. Yeah. This, whatever we're doing here is what will cut through all that nonsensical minutia on media, on social media, on entertainment, in Hollywood, sports, politics, all of it, man. This is the knife that slices right through that, I promise you. My name is Mr. Henry, David Sean Thompson, Zig sitting over there. We will see y'all tomorrow, brand new season. Love each and every one of y'all, sincerely.